So we all know, Janine, what Wednesday night means. It means Janine time and cards time. How are you doing, Janine?
Good. How are you doing, Catherine?
Really good. We've got sunshine, so when it's sunny, I'm very happy. And it's a big day today. Everyone keeps saying it's a big day. It's the 11th, so let's see what comes out. There's a certainly lot going on, so it's almost what don't we talk about?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Oh, I was just listening before we started. I got halfway through your brilliant video you've just posted on the messages from the angels. So that's a really good one for people to listen to if you haven't already.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea sent to me by a longtime viewer, and he's always sending me some great ideas. So I'm like, yeah, I better do this. This is what, because people can give me ideas of what is needed out there, and that's important.
Yeah, that's really, really important. I love it. I've been asking loads of my friends and listeners to questions. So we've got a good selection today. Yep. But I thought let's kick it off with a biggie.
Okay.
And then mix it up as we go along. So the big first question for the cards and for you is it going to come out that it's all about the children?
Ooh. Well, that's the part the bad guys want the least amount of attention on. That's the part they're the most fearful of. Okay. Oh, by the way, just before I came on here on the Zoom with you, somebody sent me an aerial vision of a school, quite a large school. I can't remember, somewhere in the States, in a large city in the States, and I don't remember exactly where. And it could it have been Baltimore? Can't remember. Anyway, the school was shaped, it's quite an old school, like a child from the air. And there was even like intimate body part showing on this childlike shape. And it was the entrance way to the school. So it was like from the air, really obvious that it was marking, maybe this is where you come to get the kids, like horrifying. An aerial vision
afterwards, and I'll put it in a link below.
I'll send it to you after. Yeah.
I hope it's not in Baltimore. That's where my daughter is. So
yeah, I can't remember the city, but it was a big US city, and it's a school, a children's school.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right. And from the air, somebody took, people are looking now. You see what's happening is they're looking and they're not missing this stuff anymore, and they're sharing it. And it's so important. So absolutely, it's going to become all about the kids.
Brilliant.
It's absolutely going to become all about the kids. And they're going to base all of those tribunals on the child activity. It's all about that. It's all about what they're doing in that cult-like behavior.
Great, because even though it's horrific for people, you can't change something if you don't shine the light on it. And as we all know now, so much of this is going on in everyone's street, in everyone's neighborhood, and it's all undercover, and everyone always thinks it's never going to happen where they live. And unfortunately, we now know how widespread it is, and that it will be. Yeah. If people open their eyes to it, then they can protect the children so much more, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're not. What I also noticed, people send me things like one viewer saw somebody and overheard a conversation. So this older fellow with a very young child. So you don't usually see like maybe 65-year-olds hanging out, like maybe a grandpa taking their child for a walk. But this guy didn't have a stroller or anything. He had her in his arm. And he was at a restaurant. She overheard a conversation, which she recorded. And the conversation was really sketchy. It didn't sound like grandpa's out for an afternoon with granddaughter. And the baby, it was a baby, like about a 1.5-year-old, or maybe even a 1-year-old, even had a little baby bonnet on. Anyway, they were talking about this child on the phone like it was a commodity. So she was alarmed in a booth. where she could hear what was going on, and sent it everywhere. So I don't know if the person who emailed me that was actually the one who recorded it or somebody else, but anyway, it was sent all over the place to alert people that if you hear something like this, bring it up, talk about it, ask questions, turn around and say, hey, so is that your granddaughter? What are we looking at here? Because it'll be uncomfortable, because sometimes it is going to be their granddaughter, and that's going to be unfortunate. That is going to be unfortunate. I get it. But if you overhear things and then add to a feeling you get, and add to, and I don't mean accost complete strangers that are just trying to go for walks with their children. I don't mean that. But I do mean if there's something blaring, like in that case there was.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so important, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many occasions where you hear people say, oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you do anything? But you know, in general, people are very polite and they don't want to cause a fuss. But sometimes if there's any doubt, and I think, you know, most parents would understand. I think most genuine parents would understand and be grateful someone's looking out, you know. So okay. So the next question, leave you on for that then, is John McAfee, the Telegram channel that's up in his name, is it him?
Okay. Yeah, he's been spilling it, hey? Well, whoever's actually putting things up on his Telegram might be somebody he pays to do, but it's backed up by him.
Right. Okay.
And he's with these guys, so he's on the good guy side. So they might have hired somebody to keep his Telegram channel going, and he might be, you know, in some kind of protection. Maybe not literally putting that stuff up himself, but he's connected to it. It's connected.
Wow. Okay. It is definitely worth people joining that. There's not a lot on there at the moment, but I know you've seen some other stuff from him on other things, but it's definitely people worth looking, because he's a bit of a sort of Mike Lindell and I forgot my name, Lynn Wood, isn't he? In terms of really dropping the thing. So the next question is, the United Nations, does it still hold any power?
Nations. Their power has been blocked by these guys. So there's our good guy card again. So they've been, this card's, they're being looked at. They're not able to go ahead and do what they usually do. They're just appearing like they do, and they might even be doing things that these guys told them to do. I think they're part of the movie at this point.
Right.
And that's been for quite a while, I'd say at least 7 months.
Wow.
So they're infiltrated. And they actually have, who's really running them is not the demonics that used to be running them.
Fantastic. So if anyone who's watching this actually works there, please let us know if you've seen any changes and things. So yeah, I'll come on in one of the latest interests about some interesting stuff about that.
Okay.
So the next question is, it's a UK based one, but it applies to everyone all over the world because it's a similar principle. And this has come from one of the listeners, Katrina. So there is something in the UK called the Eden Project, which is basically, it looks on paper and on site amazing, because they took an old clay pit that was really run down and things and turned it into a really magical ecological place. And it's basically, it's part a social enterprise and part a charity, and it's part funded by the EU. And it's meant to, the purpose, when you look on the website or go there, it's meant to be really about the living with connection in nature, and that everything's interconnected. So it looks absolutely wonderful what their objectives are. But then this lady sent me some pictures of one, it's in loads of different domes, and one of the domes had some really awful, demonic, inappropriate statues in it, which was really bizarre to see there. So can we ask about the Eden Project? Is it for the good, or is it one of the educational things that's sort of brainwashing people subliminally?
I think there's hidden things in it. I think it's a lot of people that helped start it might have had great ideas. So they got a bunch of great ideas from really well-meaning and intelligent and inspiring humans.
Mm.
And but they're at a really top level. I think they got some baddies. Yeah. So they wanted it to appear like it was well-meaning, but I got a feeling there's something going on there around a demonic figure in particular. So it could have been dedicated to. So all of the good and creative energy might be dedicated to and being used by a demonic. So it sounds weird, but that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
So but it's, again, I feel like it's coming back in, because this is the near future, back to the hands of the people. So I don't think it's going to be wasted, like all of the good that was put into it, because a lot of people invested a lot of good energy into it, unknowing that at the very top level there was something smelly going on, we'll just say. I mean, think about the Vatican, all the art in the Vatican. Like, why didn't anyone notice that? Why didn't anyone notice right behind the Pope, that sculpture? It's so clearly demonic. The whole entrance hall to the Pope's audience room, or whatever it's called, is literally a serpent head. Like, nobody's talking about that. Now we're talking about it, right? So there's things at the very top level of this place that, unbeknownst to everybody with all their good intentions who put their energy in. So not to take away from that. And it feels like it'll be taken back for the good it was meant to be used for.
Yeah, because it looks like the people that sort of work down the ground level, and when you read about it and look at it, that there is some beautiful energy there, but it was absolutely bizarre, these pictures she sent, one of these. That makes complete sense. And it's literally, isn't it, like everything, it's like so much of what we see, that's why people don't see it, because it's so cleverly sort of hidden in plain sight, isn't it? So when you surround something really demonic by something so beautiful, you just get distracted, don't you? But you just need one person to point it out to you, and then you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Thanks for that question. Well, the next one, we'll ask this one next, because it's sort of on as links in on that sort of natural theme. So this is from the lovely Faye, who rescues animals. Is there anything that the animal world needs us to know right now which will make things better for them? Are they trying to give us any messages right now?
So this is kind of really interesting. I just get a big sort of vision of our whole relationship with the animal kingdom, as far as using them for food, etc. Okay, so when that first started, they gave the idea to humans to use them for food to survive.
Mm.
So the groups of people were starving, and they actually, their soul energy or essence said, okay, we'll work with you to help you survive, use our coats to keep you warm, and you know what I mean? But they laid out certain guidelines spiritually to so it would be handled with integrity and in a loving way. Okay, so that's been long stepped away from. And they're quite disappointed in, there's disappointment in how that's, it's covered up so incredibly what's really happening and how they're really being abused, just like humans are being abused by the dark. Okay, we're also turning around and abusing our animal kingdom and not being the shepherds, as it were, that we were intended to be to that world kind of thing, right? So they're looking forward. So that's only a 5, so they haven't given up on humans. They're looking forward to the balance and healing of that relationship, so it can come back in balance and healing, because it was taken over by these bad guys a long time ago, and they're the ones who started these horrific practices and made it okay to treat animals the way they're treated in large, you know what I'm talking about, in these huge farms where there's absolutely no life for them. They're not even able to be outdoors and have any kind of a life. So now they're literally enslaved, just like these demonics are trying to enslave us. Who do you think created those industries way back in the day, and how it evolved into that? How did it evolve into that? Because these demonics evolved it into that. They made a point of it.
Yeah.
They're making everybody here on the earth plane into their slaves.
Yeah.
And we went along with it and turned a blind eye, which all of us on some level can relate to. But at the same time, once our eyes are open, we're going to have to start rethinking and redoing and recreating our whole relationship. It has to come from a mutual place of, okay, I give you a good life and you give, something back for
So
the good.
you know that's coming, do they?
Oh yeah, it was the original idea, they say. So it was the original idea. Now it's stepped away from for thousands of years, so they're disappointed. But energetically, they know that healing is on the way.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So we're going to have to heal our relationship with how we're being with those beings.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, because you're so right. When we've all done it at some levels, it's even things like hamsters and guinea pigs and rabbits in cages and things like that. And you wouldn't dream of putting a human in a cage, and yet it's suddenly fine for you to do it for an animal for their whole life, and people think they have a good home and they just don't. So that's brilliant. That's really good that they know, and I can imagine that they'll be helping us on our way with that, because it's really interesting. I've done a few animal related videos this week as well, because obviously that's my passion, and everyone's been saying, so many people have been saying that animals have been behaving differently over the last week, staying a lot closer, being with them a lot more. So that seems to be quite a consistent theme with a lot of people. So yeah, it's interesting to see what's coming. Okay, this one is from a lady, one of our listeners, called Joe. Now I've got to be careful how I say this. So at the moment we're in August, and the month after August is quite a significant month. And on that day, sort of 20 years ago, something very significant happened on a certain day in that month. What they're asking is, have any of the families been told what really happened?
It looks like there's a long-standing group that is with family members involved, that is about discovering the truth, who didn't buy the narrative. So that's been ongoing for years, it looks like. And they've got all kinds of information. I feel like they discovered themselves. Nobody told them, though. They figured out what happened, themselves with that. Those two.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's the word right there.
Yeah.
They discovered themselves. So that was their own discovery, and they've been working in the background to bring this forward and also educate other families and or people that were affected by it, known people that whose families were affected, which there would be thousands of, right? Thousands. Okay, so I feel like that's already ongoing, but it wasn't anybody, nobody sat them down and told them. But in the future, I do see that it'll be brought forward for those who want to know the truth. The truth will be available.
Brilliant.
Right. Some people aren't going to want to know all the details. I mean, that'll be so hurtful, but other people do. So when they're ready to hear, the information is absolutely going to be made available.
Yeah, no, it'd be incredibly difficult for people directly affected by that. It's bad enough for people that haven't been directly affected, but for people that have been, it's you know, incredible. So the next question, it was in the news sort of over the last week that there was a Florida radio host, Dick Farrell, who at 65 years of age, now he was very anti the thing you put there, and was very public about it. And then apparently he then suddenly got very ill and died of this thing. Not that, died of the disease thing.
Original illness.
The original thing. Now, can we look and see whether the cards say whether that's true or whether something nefarious happened to him?
Yeah, something nefarious happened to him for sure.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's a cover up. And yeah, he was just too much trouble to these guys. Yeah, so he got taken out of the way.
So awful, isn't it? And this is still happening. It's just so awful. But I suppose you can't protect everyone, can you?
Oh,
No.
It's definitely, I think there's pockets of it was used as a bio type thing against humanity. I think to really ramp up the, you know, feelings about it, the uncomfortable feelings about it right at the beginning, they dropped some little bombs of really lethal sort of illness, let's just say, that's nothing to do with or sort of the other thing that the tests for, which is sort of the regular yearly situations. Oh my goodness, right? So it's like there's so much misinformation here that it's just like, and people can point to, well, this big bunch of people really had it really bad, blah, 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 blah. And it turns out it was likely just a sabotaged little area, like a meat that was sabotaged with something totally different, by the way. I've heard.
Which is what you've got to do, isn't it? This is the problem. This is all you've got to do, and then say it's the same thing. It's incredibly easy, isn't it? So, yeah.
And so, how can they even know? Like there hasn't been nearly enough time to investigate any of this, and so it's all just made up, and it was planned literally years ago. There's so much evidence that it was.
And also there's been virtually no autopsies either. So they can't possibly without that know exactly what happened to the people. And the reason that they aren't is that for anyone who knows what they're doing, it will be very obvious if there's something suspicious going on if you do an autopsy.
Of course. And isn't that a big, this color?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Isn't that huge?
This is going to be one of those videos where people definitely have to watch, because otherwise we won't have a clue what we're talking about. I think all our listeners are so well informed, they know what we're talking about anyway. So linking on nicely to that, and this is another ridiculous code words. I'm looking at live streaming to my website so that I don't have to do this because it is ridiculous. So if those people that like reciting the alphabet, the letter after F, and if you add 3 plus 2, okay. Now, is that related to the taking people off the earth plane that were being seen?
So certain towers were put up for this?
Yeah, certain towers were put up. And also it's very, because the thing is, it's quite complicated technology, this, I'll be careful not to say the word, but it's a complicated technology. So they're meant to be rolling it out at one level and then ramping it up. But of course, no member of the public really would know when that up has happened where. So you could effectively have these things rolled out in loads of places, and some could be not at a harmful or not at a particularly harmful level, but others could already be at a very harmful level. And you can do that remotely at a switch with no problem.
Wow. Now, did you see that video that went around, and it was quite well viewed, I'm pretty sure, where this fellow who was working for a company that was installing these towers of the thing that we were just talking about, he did something he wasn't supposed to do, and he actually opened something he wasn't supposed to open to have a look at it, because he was suspicious and probably had been hearing things and was probably a bit of a digital warrior himself. And he videoed a visual of the inside thing that he was putting into these things to get them to activate. So it was a sort of a plate with all kinds of electronics. So he flipped it over and it literally said COV-19. It had it on there. He zoomed
I heard about that, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I saw it and I couldn't believe it. And he was just like a regular guy. I think he was was he British or Scottish, maybe?
Yeah. Okay.
Scottish, maybe. Anyway, it was unbelievable. I get sent.
I've got big suspicion, but we'll see what the card said. That's brilliant. If anyone's got that video, please send it to me and I'll put it on my Telegram and Janine's as well. Well, Janine's Instagram you use, don't you? And Twitter.
Yeah. I just can't get Telegram to work very good.
I'm like that with Instagram. I'm really hopeless and I share things and I'm thinking, where's it gone? I can't see it. Honestly, I'm just so, and by the way, this isn't fairies, it's my incense, everyone. Well, it might be fairies in the incense. They might be snorting it. But yeah, it is funny. I do have a mental block, but yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what the cards say about this.
Okay. So in the past, the bad guys had control of those towers.
Yeah.
In the current situation, the good guys do. Good guys right now, karmic justice, they've sabotaged them. So if there was bad in there, they took it out and or restructured it or whatever, because the near future outcome, we've got the 3 of Cups, but it's being well aspected. And so 3 of Cups, I mean, in a situation where we're talking about trafficking humans, this could be that party substance, but it's also a really great card when you're talking about other things. And this is in the near future. And it's because the good guys took this thing over and took over the operation of what to do with those things. We're going to celebrate, or it could even put something out there that actually brings joy or brings something positive. But it was absolutely designed to do nefarious things.
Yeah.
In the past. So that's in the past, that card. But in the near future is it's leading to, it's going to actually bring more joy somehow. So that's fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. But and that would make sense why perhaps last year there's so many maps. I don't know if you've seen, there's some brilliant people that have overlaid the maps of where the worst problems have been. Where people have actually been passing over, not just full statistics. And where that rollout have been, there were some really, really strong correlations. I mean, unbelievable correlations. So that would make perfect sense. So yeah. So, oh wow. Okay. So the next question is the EU. Is it or has it collapsed? Is it going to or has it collapsed? Or become dysfunctional, whatever we want to say.
Yep. In the past already. It's long since been dying a long, slow, painful death. And it's literally just hanging on in reputation only, because this card's like it's faking it till it makes it. You know what's really funny, Catherine, years ago. So when I just first started doing these videos, people were asking about the EU, and it was before when there was a big push to separate in the UK from
Yeah.
it, or in your area, neck of the woods, they wanted to separate from it. And I did several readings on it, and I got so much flack because I kept getting, well, it's going to be postponed. It's going to be postponed. And then and which it was. And then I got that, oh, it'll never actually separate. Something else entirely different was going to happen, but it wasn't going to go in the way that a lot of people that wanted to stay in the EU really wanted. They were a lot of my viewers at the time, and they were really mad at me because I was like, it just feels like it fizzles out. Like it just felt like it's not an issue. It felt like it didn't really not go ahead or go ahead. None of the above. It wasn't, nothing was going to be what they were thinking it was. So both sides were mad at me.
Yes. Nothing new there.
And that's kind of what's happening. Like, it doesn't look like it's anything like it was in the past, because it was absolutely a dark hat op.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And now it's just limping along, pretending to be that. So it's not really going to be a thing. It feels like it'll take a little time. As everything, we're going to have to rebuild all our structures. It's going to take a little time, because anybody up at the top of it's going to hang on for dear life, or even people are going to hang on to the idea of it for a really long time. They're going to, because that Two of Pentacles is, there's going to be a lot of sorting out necessary over the next year and a half. So all of our politics are going to have to get sorted through and relooked at, and because none of it's going to hold, is what I think.
Yeah, I so agree. That's so fascinating, because there's so much information that came out at the time when you look at what's been revealed of going on, that actually said that getting Boris Johnson in place and getting us by one way, probably by the dodgy,
was absolutely these guys. So that was, he was placed there.
But it's weird because he then got us, well, he probably didn't, because obviously we all know what's happening with the machines that take people's vote. So the whole thing was obviously planned, but that must have been taken over by the white hats then to have, because could we ask whether the UK leaving it was part of the start of it crumbling down, whether that was a white hat operation?
Haha, yes. Yep, it was. That's our good guys. And that's karmic justice, but it could also be legal, or they went about it through legal means, interesting, in the background, or they could have even like, this could even be rounding up people that you don't know about yet, and that's what created it. So that background takeover, where I believe the deep state that was the shadow government became ousted and was taken over by the good guys, became the shadow government. Okay, that happened, I think, a couple of years ago in a lot of different places.
Yeah, it just makes perfect sense now. And this is where it's so fascinating. Hindsight is such a wonderful thing, isn't it? Because when what looks like the situation is at the time, and then when you look back with new knowledge or a new pair of eyes, it looks completely different. So that's really, really fascinating. So, oh, how exciting. Right, this is one that I will be absolutely shot if I don't ask, because I've had so many people ask me to ask. The EBS, is it going to be outside America, or is it just going to be America?
Okay, that's a world card. And then we've got the most inclusive card.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So that's a world thing. That information, in whatever you're calling it, the EBS, but I was feeling like it was the outing of the information coming and being made public is going to be a world event.
Brilliant. And that makes sense, because you are right. You picked up on a really important thing there, but we're all calling it the EBS because that's what we originally told.
Yeah.
But of course, the tactic could be a completely different exposure.
Mhm.
So it doesn't
I
have to
think
be
they
that.
wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think they'd literally spell it out exactly how they're going to do it. I just, they haven't done anything that way. They've been
No.
very subtle. And meanwhile, this dead man switch that's been dropping truths is just phenomenal stuff coming out for, like, the way they're actually getting the truth out there is literally brilliant.
So for
And
the listeners, where are you seeing a lot of that information, on what platforms?
people are sending it to me and it gets circulated on social media sites.
Yeah.
Okay, so what it was a snapshot, and I did see a tiny few seconds of that frazzle drip, horrifying. Look up the word on DuckDuckGo. Don't look it
Yeah.
up on Google. Okay, but don't watch it. Okay, whatever you do,
No.
don't watch it. Yeah, it's horrifying. You can never unsee that. But I just saw a couple seconds of it, and it was horrifying. Somebody had sent it. People send it. They get a hold of these things. They send it. But McAfee. Can't believe I can't. I'm scared to say his name in case I don't get that A in there the right way. But anyway,
We know who you mean.
it's not like how I would say that. But anyway, whatever. Like, I obviously don't say words correctly very often, but and I don't care, actually, by the way. So for all you I can't say that word. For all you guys getting really grumpy about it.
Yeah. I know.
Guess what? I lived my whole life saying words wrong. Maybe I'm just really creative and I got my own way of doing it. But anyway, so he has been dropping these truth bombs, and it could have come from his telegraph, and it could have been taken down. So it goes up and gets taken down and goes up again. So what I would suggest is you take a snap of it and or a screenshot of it, and or if you want it, but it was literally a still from that.
Yeah.
They have everything, is what he's saying.
Yeah. And they really do. They really
It was
do.
a horrifying still, by the way. It looked like a horror movie. And we know who's behind what being held up in that picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a certain Hillary person.
Yeah, probably the most evil woman of all time. So yeah, or certainly sort of well up there. So moving on nicely to social media, there's a lot of people saying that we're just about to have the social media be taken down. Now, whether it's permanent or temporary, can we ask the cards if they've got any information for us on that?
I almost get it'll take itself down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll take itself down because it won't be able to keep up. I already can see where it's not keeping up.
Yeah.
To things like what I put on Instagram. I can't believe I'm still on there. Frankly, I can't believe I'm still on Twitter.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't believe I'm still on Twitter. So there you go.
I have to learn how to use Twitter, aren't I? Oh God. Okay. I do a few little, but I don't really, I just look at a few things. Okay. Right. That'll be my job for Friday night. Learn how to use Twitter. Showing my age now. Oh God.
It's largely being controlled by these guys, made to look like these guys are still in control.
Yeah.
So I really think anything that looks like these guys are doing the dirty has been controlled by these guys.
Yeah.
So the good guys are more in control than these guys.
Yeah.
These guys are being made to look like they're doing this to show you how bad they are. That's what I get. Yeah, so it's hanging on. It's just hanging on. That's it's hanging in there. And they probably check. So surrender to, could be a moment to moment here. This is a fast moving thing. Surrender to, and a 10 means it's really close to the end. I mean, a 10 is an end. So 10s are endings in the tarot. But this card here says, it'll all happen when it does really, really fast too. Right. So this is such a fast moving situation going on this month.
Is this part of the information that Cliff High uses for his intelligence?
Apparently, okay, and I don't know, I hope I don't get this wrong, but apparently he has something that gets the algorithm sort of main words that are being thrown around in the mood of the words.
Yeah.
Are the words angry from this group? Are they, and sort of takes the temperature of algorithms. Yeah. Social media algorithms and news sources algorithms to understand what's being put out. And then when they back off a narrative and when they
Yeah.
push it hard, and when they, yeah.
Must
So
be
it
really
does-
interesting because we're all using such stupid code words now. It must really bugger up his algorithms. Sorry, Cliff, because his work, yeah, it's really
yeah,
interesting.
I'm sure there's also all this undercurrent of
Yeah,
information going on that's not being talked about.
yeah,
That's maybe going to mess that up too. And
yeah,
that's where psychics, intuitives, and distance viewers and whatever come in real handy.
yeah,
Come-
absolutely. Absolutely.
I really,
So how?
I really respect what he's doing, but I
Yeah.
think he misses a little bit of it. I'm not, I don't buy it 100%. And apparently he's not a big Mr. T fan, and that's okay. He can do whatever he wants. I don't care, but he does bring really good insights
I
from
love
other
the video.
directions. And I find that really helpful. So I don't just block someone because they don't like Mr. T. So many people are so funny. It's like, you guys, we got to take our information from anybody who's doing good work in a certain area. And if there's other parts about their personality you don't like, a lot of people don't like my personality, but they like certain things I bring. Other people can't tolerate this person's voice or whatever, but
Yeah.
they write me and tell me, but it doesn't mean the person doesn't bring really good information. And that's, you're just going to have to weed through these. We're not trying to be professional newscasters here, by the way.
Exactly.
We're
And it's so
human,
yeah.
bringing what we know and our life experience and lifetimes of experience to the table. And that you got to take all of that with a grain of salt, because it's not your lifetimes of experience, it's ours.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important point. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because it's so hysterical. You can be talking about something so important, and they'll say, "Oh, I don't like your hair," or "I don't like your voice," and I was like, oh, "I don't give a shit." It's like, honestly, if that's all you've got out of this video, you've really wasted your time. It is quite funny.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether the cards have got any clue for Sam, because how will we all, as there's so many members of the public that aren't on these platforms at all. So most of my people that I know that are what I would call not aware of what's going on, they're not on any of these platforms.
Yeah, it's true.
And so I wonder how they're going to get the information out to us. Carrier pigeon.
Well, think about it. If the social medias go down, how I've been hearing it is they're going to do rolling things where things go down, and then this will still be up over here.
Yeah.
And then goes down, and this area is down, but then that'll be 3 days, and then they're back up and somebody else is down. So that's probably going to be good, because if everything just went radio silent all over the world at the same time, that could be disastrous, frankly. Yeah. I don't know. That would be pretty interesting for sure, but let's have a look. Okay, so they seem to be taking independent people, and they're going to ramp this up. And I've already heard about them doing this, and they're taking them and then feeding them the information, and then those people get it out to their people. So they're looking for independent people who are on page. Remember that preacher I was talking about? Was it on your show I was telling about?
Yesterday with Mel, you were talking. Now that makes real sense, because Mel, one of her friends, who I think I know who it was also taken into that situation. So that's amazing.
Yeah. So that's what I get. Yeah, that'd be cool. That's what they're doing. They're doing it on these random, so the Wheel of Fortune. So they're going to do it in a grassroots way.
Yeah.
Bring it from people that they know have a good audience, and they know are saying things that are basically got the right idea, basically, or at least willing to speak the truth.
Brilliant.
So I guess they're feeling out who they think could bring the truth.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Okay, great. Thank you. I think we're starting to see, now I might be wrong about this. This is just something I saw very briefly just this afternoon. So Governor Kemp in Georgia was on one of the main news channels in the USA talking about the problems they're having with rising cases there. And he is very pro
Yeah.
but he's also very pro not mandating anything and saying we need to leave it up to the individual organizations, people, etc., to make sensible decisions. So even though in one respect he was covering it, but so when I first started listening, I was thinking, oh God, here we go again, someone else just pushing that. But then he dropped a few bombshells at the end, and he was saying about people don't trust the White House anymore, and people need to have intelligent discussions with their own medical professions and make their own mind up. So what sounded like he was saying all the right propaganda suddenly turned into something else. So could we ask whether that was part of a soft disclosure?
Yep, he's in cahoots with the good guys. And that was things told to, he's been let in on some things. And he's absolutely part of exposing. So
Right.
he's doing it in a way that maybe he'll just eventually get right off the narrative of, you know, what goes in your arm. He might get off of that narrative altogether eventually. So keep watching them. Like these guys are flipping around what they're saying literally from one day to the next. So you can't gauge what they're coming out their mouth. Right. You know, until it's time for all the truth to come out. I think they'll keep with the narrative because otherwise it'll be too shocking. I don't think it's quite time. It's almost time. So even on the video I did today on the Tarot by Janine, I did a look at, and it, you know, message from the off-world or wise ones that are looking over us. And it looked like we just really need more patience, even though not years of it or months and months, no, but at least in the next month, we're going to need more patience because we feel like we're out of patience, a lot of us, but it's really, really necessary because they, you know, everything's got to be poised just right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really ties into what you were just saying before, because normally when I heard him starting to push that, I would just switched off. I'd have thought, sod this, I'm not listening to this anymore. But for some reason, I carried on listening, and then it completely turned. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, I'm really pleased I stayed listening to that.
So he's going to draw in the normies that are used to hearing that, and that's what they're thinking is true. But then eventually he'll weed out the bad parts. Okay, so this is like reverse brainwash. I mean, they're trying to, on an unconscious level, get it in these people's head the same way all of the bad stuff got in their head. They're trying to reverse that damage by letting it sink in on all kinds of different, in all kinds of different ways, what's really going on. And it's working because, like I said, I was at that dinner, or well, it wasn't dinner. It was just snacks on the patio of a friend of mine who's definitely not in these kind of communities, or she thinks we're all nutty. And but she's a loving person and I really like her, right? I know her for years and years, so she has so many good qualities, but she's just not into this. Okay, so I go over there and I'm just listening to the whole conversation of the evening, several gals, and they're all saying the same. So all of these people have had double this. Of course, I'm not even talking about, I won't go into politics with this bunch. We're talking about decorating and flower beds and things. Okay, you want to keep it safe in these kind of communities. I do anyway. It's like,
yes.
So anyway, you know, unless there's an angle that I could get it in there, and they've already heard my angles and shut them all down. So it's like, we didn't speak for months because of my angles. So now I know better. Okay. So, but I was listening and they all agreed to one thing, that this was a repeated thing throughout the evening that I thought was brilliant. They all said at some point in some way, they said, it's interesting how the elites of the world have one set of rules and we have another. Okay. And that right there is huge. It's going to be a huge part of the awakening for these people. Okay. The elites of the world have one set of rules. So that's something they noticed. Wait a sec, we're wearing those things and we're okay. So they're partying for 3 days for Obama's birthday party. You know what I mean? Why do you think they put that psyop up there? That's all false, by the way, you guys. Just I'm not even gonna grace it with a reading, because I already got that before even the party was up. I said, none of that's real. It's all gonna be a psyop, which is true. Okay, the whole thing is just played out like a movie for you, of blurry pictures. Give me a break. None of that's real. Okay, so all of those people are likely at the spa, and that's what I got in that reading. I got, notice everybody who's there and was mentioned to be there. you can be sure that's signaling who's not here anymore, or they're at the spa. Okay, so that's what that bunch was. That was that all about. But anyway, so that's what they're trying to do. Why do you think they would even let those pictures get out?
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
really did party for 3 days, but yet they're pushing that big, scary
Yeah.
evolution of the illness, I'll say. Okay, so they're pushing that, but they have a 3-day party where they're all mingling and nobody's wearing anything or social distancing, or give me a break. They're gonna let that cat out of the bag. So of course they would have had a party for 3 days like that, yes, but they wouldn't have let you know about it in these times. And
Exactly.
that's where you know the good guys are in charge of that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, we've got time for one more, have you?
Sure.
Okay, so my last question, which I hope, but we'll see, not that I'm influencing the cards, is ending on a good note, is, are the children stroke young people, you can count that however you like, so that's me, are the children stroke young people going to find this transition very easy? Because we talk about it's going to be really hard and really, really traumatic for some people to find this out, but are the children stroke young adults going to find this really easy to accept and be some of the leaders in moving us forward?
Well, they're going to be really disappointed when they find out what this bunch has been up to.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to get through the hurdle of spending time looking backwards on everything they were told. And it's very disappointing. And a lot of the stuff that was pushed by these guys was also pushed by their parents. Okay. Like public education is, you got to go to school, you got to go. All of that was propaganda fed to us, and then we fed it to our kids. By the way, I never ever said that to my kids. In fact, I used to make a joke that one of my biggest fears for my children was that they'd A, go to university, and B, become religious of any kind. Spiritual, yes, but I already knew religions are infiltrated by dark. I knew that from the second I was conscious in the world here this lifetime. That was one thing I knew for sure. Right from the get-go, it's like nothing about organized religion is something's off here. Something's off. Not to say good people practicing, okay, but they got to look into what they're reiterating, what hymns they're singing. They were all designed by the dark cult. You're probably spell casting with those hymns, you guys. Think about it, okay? Everything's been infiltrated at a really top level. So be really careful. But anyway, so yeah, they're going to be really disappointed when they find out what this bunch has been up to. But as you get older, it actually gets harder to flip it around. So I feel like they'll actually come out the better. They'll surrender to it. They'll carefully, and they'll spend time not trusting anybody. Okay, not trusting anybody, but then they'll figure it out. So it feels like they'll do better than like the over 60 crowd. And I know that a lot of the over 60 crowd watching videos like this were actually already wise to this, but the ones sleeping have made it a point to stay sleeping their whole life, and they're already past 60. So, and like, for instance, my parents in their 80s and 90s, and I love them dearly, but they're absolutely sleeping like on every level about this stuff. They will not, that is the people that are going to take it the hardest.
Yeah. Wow, we covered a lot tonight, didn't we, of lots of different things. So anything else you wanted to finish off with before we go? So I just said, okay, channel us something. Since I was coming from the angelics, I just thought I'd channel something on this show from the angelics. So really nice cards here, incredible. The biggest takeaway here, the biggest thing they want to say is visualize what you desire. This is a desire or wish card. Okay, so desire. So put it out there. This card puts it out there spiritually, or intends or visualizes or uses all their. Remember, our brain is like an incredible tool to direct. It's like a direct energy tool, right? So you can direct your thoughts and then use your voice. So your thoughts and words to talk about how you visualize things to be.
not how you're thinking they are, you fear that they are, or somebody told you they were. Never mind that. Stay totally focused on your own vision. Okay. And then that's what you're gonna create that. That's how you personally move to what you want. You want to move to 5D, already assume the position. Assume you're there, talk like you are. Don't assume you're still battling things out. Just assume you're already get to the good parts, at least part of your day, already feel like you're there and start imagining how wonderful it'll be to be there. What do you see in that new world? What's in your vision? How do you feel there, especially emotionally? How do you feel? So they're saying use your magic, people. That's a huge thing I've been getting constantly. Use your magic, put it out there, and you'll get to it. So that 4 is when you have a breakthrough with the 4 of Wands. And that how you have the breakthrough is you already assume the position. Fake it till you make it.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that's such a lovely message to end on. Thank you so much for doing that. So Janine's cards, they're absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. And if anyone gets an message, an EBS, anything, let us know, won't you? We're really keen to know. Have a great evening, everyone. And thank you so much to everyone who's watching this. And thank you so much to all the people that email in or message in questions. We really appreciate it.
And intel, I get so
intel is just the best. Oh, there's just so many beautiful. I must say, Robin in New Zealand sends me the most amazing stuff. I must get back to him tonight, actually. It's so appreciated, people. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Janine. Have an amazing, amazing rest of the day, and we shall speak soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.